We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to those who are here in person and those who are attending via telephone. This is the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street, West Swan, Manitoba, this 22nd day of September 2020, and the time is 7:05 p.m. Present, myself, Deputy Reeve Blosha, Councillors Foster, Gade, Wills, and Kushniryk. ACAO/Finance, James Webb. Absent with prior written notice, Councillor Darryl Pierrepont. We have two public hearings later in the agenda. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Wills, resolved that verbal notice of absence has been received from Councillor Darryl Pierrepont regarding his inability to attend the regular meeting of Council held on this 22nd day of September 2020, and the same shall be accepted by the members of Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West. In favor? That is carried. Moved by Councillor Kushniryk, second by Councillor Wills, resolved that the minutes for the regular meeting of and special meeting of Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West held on September 8th, 2020 shall be adopted as circulated. Do we have any errors or omissions? Not. All in favor? All in favor?
Yeah.
That is carried.
Sorry.
Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Wills, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of Council held this 22nd day of September 2020 shall be adopted as presented. Do we have any additions, deletions? Not all in favor? That's carried. Okay. Delegation time is 7:10 or 7:08. I guess it's close enough.
Public hearings, where we go?
Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Blosha. Resolved that we do hereby adjourn the regular meeting of Council at 7:09 p.m. to open the following public hearings. Variance application for the southeast one quarter of section 123728W lot 2. And number 2, variance application for southeast one quarter of section 123728W lot 1. And be it further resolved that we shall reconvene the regular meeting of Council immediately following the adjournment of said public hearings. Questions or comments? If not, all in favor? It's carried. This is a public hearing held by the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West in the Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba, this 22nd day of September 2020 at 7:10 p.m. regarding the variance application concerning the property known as the southeast one quarter of section 123728W. Present, myself, Deputy Reeve Blosha, Councillors Foster, Gade, Kushniryk, Wills, with Councillor Pierrepont being absent, and Finance Officer Assistant CAO James Webb. So we open the public hearing and an invitation to any who are on the telephone or in person to make presentations for or against the proposed variance application. Anyone present wishing to make any comments either for or against the proposed application? Third and final time, any comments from anyone present for or against the presentation? Not. Moved by Councillor Kushniryk, second by Councillor Blosha. Whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has received an application for a variance on the property known as the southeast one quarter of section 12, 3728 WPM, specifically to increase the maximum site area from 10 acres to 24.98 acres on proposed lot 2 within the AG agricultural zone as per table 4.1 of zoning bylaw number 2383-04. Whereas notice of the public hearing was posted and delivered to adjacent landowners in accordance with Part 6 of the Planning Act, and the municipality has not received any objections with respect to said variance. Therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the aforementioned variance as per the application dated August 24th, 2020, and shall issue variance order number 2020-07, and be it further resolved that the Reeve or Deputy Reeve shall be authorized to sign said order on behalf of the municipality. Questions or comments on that? If not, all in favor? That is carried. Moved by Councillor Blosha, second by Councillor Kushniryk. Resolved that the public hearing shall now adjourn at 7:13 p.m. All in favor? It's carried.
This is the second portion of that.
It is public hearing 2 held by the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street, West Swan River, Manitoba. This 22nd day of September 2020 at 7:14 p.m. Regarding the variance application concerning the property known as the southeast one quarter of section 12, 3728. Present, myself, Deputy Reeve Blosha, Councillors Foster, Gade, Kushniryk, Wills, Darryl Pierrepont being absent, Finance/Assistant CAO James Webb. Welcome to the second hearing, and we will now read the next resolution. Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Wills, resolved that the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West shall hereby call to order the public hearing 2 regarding the variance application on the property known as the southeast one quarter of section 12, 3728 WPM, this 22nd day of September 2020 at 7:15 p.m. All in favor? It's carried. We now call on anyone present wishing to make a statement either for or against the aforementioned variance application. Anyone who is present wishing to make comment either for or against the variance application. For a third and final time, anyone present or on the phone wishing to make a comment either for or against the variance application. If not, moved by Councillor Blosha, second by Councillor Gade. Whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has received an application for a variance order on property known as the southeast one quarter of section 12, 3728W to reduce the minimum site area from 80 acres to 54.9 acres on proposed lot 1 within the AG agricultural zone as per table 4.1 of zoning bylaw number 2383-04. Whereas notice of the public hearing was posted and delivered to adjacent landowners in accordance with Part 6 of the Planning Act, and the municipality has not received any objections with respect to said variance. Therefore be it resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has hereby approved the aforementioned variance as per the application dated August 24th, 2020, and shall issue variance order number 2020-08, and be it further resolved that the Reeve or Deputy Reeve shall be authorized to sign said order on behalf of the municipality. Questions or comments on that? If not, all in favor? That is carried. Moved by Councillor Wills, second by Councillor Gade, resolved that the public hearing 2 shall now adjourn at 7:17 p.m. All in favor? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Blosha, resolved that the regular meeting of Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West shall now reopen at 7:18 p.m. to proceed with the regular business of council. All in favor? You in there? Okay. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Wills. Resolved that in accordance with section 300 and 326 of the Municipal Act, the changes to the 2020 assessment roll for the Municipality of Swan Valley West shall be accepted by the Council and applied to that portion of the 2019 taxes as described on the reports received from the Province of Manitoba Assessment Services Swan River Office dated September 14th, 2020, copies of which are attached. Questions or comments on that? If not, all in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Kushniryk. Resolved that in accordance with sections 300 and 326 of the Municipal Act, the changes to the 2020 assessment roll for the Municipality of Swan Valley West shall be accepted by the Council and applied to that portion of the 2020 taxes as described on the reports received from the Province of Manitoba Assessment Services Swan River office dated September 14th, 2020, copies of which are attached. Questions on that? Number of them on this one? If not, all in favor? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Kushniryk, second by Councillor Wills. Resolved that the Swan River Fire Department response report for the month of August 2020 shall be received by the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West. Any questions on that report?
I appreciate the change at the end there where it shows that the permit is on file, and that's a great change. My curiosity remains though about the Benito Fire Department, as we see another month without a report from them.
I spoke with the fire chief of the fire department, and he advises me that every time there is a call out of his department, there is a report immediately submitted to the office. And I don't know what happens to them after that.
You know what, we should be writing something up saying no call-outs or no required action for that month. Even if we don't have any reports, and we'll make a note of that so that you know that we have attended to it, and if there was something, it'll be reported on. But at this time, there's nothing to report. But that would be a placeholder in our agenda.
Any other questions? Not? All in favor? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Blosha, second by Councillor Kushniryk. Whereas the Swan Valley Air Limited requires a second approach onto the airport property and will acquire all permits needed as advised by Manitoba Conservation Drainage and Licensing Branch. And whereas permission is requested of the Municipality of Swan Valley West to proceed with said request, be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve this request as submitted, provided all conditions have been met from Manitoba Conservation Drainage and Licensing Branch. Questions or comments on that?
Who pays?
That's a good question. We own the property, as you know, and I guess it isn't ideal or possible for them to enter their property from the north-south road on the east side, the main entrance to the airport itself. They are requesting, as you can see, a separate approach. Now, traditionally, we supply one approach to every piece of property that pays us taxes or that pays taxes. However, I do not believe that we will be in receipt of any additional monies as a result of this being established.
Staff has not discussed this matter with me. They discussed it with the Reeve, but I found out later in the day today that this party is willing to pay for the upgrade.
They'll discuss this with me. We talked about it at a previous meeting. There was a letter come in, was there not?
Yeah, it come in the previous meeting,
Yeah.
I said.
Which meeting?
But
The
since
last
then,
one.
I have heard nothing about it.
But prior to the previous meeting. Anyhow, it's an issue that was batted around quite a bit, but that's what I discovered today, once I saw it on the agenda.
First
Yeah, that was my understanding. I apologize if that is incorrect.
that is incorrect, believe
Okay,
me.
good.
Do you know what size of pipe is required there? Would it be 24?
No, it's not a very,
Not that large?
no, it isn't, no.
I thought,
But they're going to apply for the permits and.
For licensing?
Yeah.
And they would probably specify then, would they, the size of
Yeah,
pipe?
Yeah, I think it depends on the where they approach the property and the ditch that is there, the drainage that's already in place.
Yeah, I would assume it would be directly south of where the building is supposed to
Yes,
go.
yeah, and it's not a very big dip there at all, so.
Probably 12 or
Yeah,
16 or 18.
12 or 16. Yeah, for sure. But no, we talked to this, had to discuss it with I had Dawn discuss it with the town to make sure they were good with it, as well as if the airport commission wanted to have any input into it, and then ourselves being, that being our road, I guess, is why it's coming to ourselves.
So he's prepared to pay for it?
Yes.
That's your question.
And I think our policy would direct that he should pay for it, once the
Yeah.
second approach, so that's fair. The only thing request I have then is what meeting was this discussed at previously?
I believe it was at the last meeting
I
where
think it
there
was the
was
last
correspondence, and he requested it, or was it at the transportation meeting possibly?
was one of them. I forget which one.
Anyway, no decision was made, there was simply a request made for it, and it must have been the
The
transportation.
Yeah, I think
transportation,
it was transportation.
because it was at the last minute, I wasn't here.
Yeah,
So
and
that's-
so that's
Yeah.
why it was referred to the regular meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was told,
Yeah.
it was in.
yeah, it was a request. Yeah.
Further questions? Not all in favor? It's carried.
Seven five is a safety policy, and it was tabled from last time. It was, I have it here, that 7.6 will be the waste disposal. Now, this was tabled, and it was already moved and seconded, so it's just a matter of bringing it back up for discussion.
Well, I think we wanted to have a look at it, and like, some of the things were good, but some of the things
You
needed
wanted
to
some
be.
changes?
Yes, exactly. We sent it away, and so we wouldn't rush into
But
a
it's still
decision.
the same
And
here, so.
if, say, for instance, a safety
The
gear
gear
policy.
policy, yeah.
It was one of those ones that had a lot of attention brought to it. The working alone policy, it was something that was in the safety audit today. And they asked if we had one in place, and we said we have it drafted, and it's just a matter of approving it. So they were quite happy to see it was in progress.
So we have, I know last time we talked about this, main meeting, and we touched on it later on as well. Sort of developing a plan so these things actually move along, because it's been a couple of weeks now. And conceivably, this could have come back tonight for approval of the council. But we don't seem to really have a plan for how we would get from this stage to the stage of being presented to council to pass. My concern is if we just table it again tonight, we'll see again in a couple of weeks, a lot like this. Without necessarily having developed what we need to develop to have this passed. And certainly it's important, the safety of our employees is paramount to all of us. So it's good to speak at least momentarily to the plan.
Well, I felt that council, this was a recommendation from the safety committee, which they had their input, and so we want to put on the table for council's input for sure. We can do some edits on it and pass it with the comment that plus additions or deletions, or
Do you have enough from us to be able to do those edits, or do you need that input yet?
That's the input we were looking for, discussing tonight, getting that input. We don't have that I don't have that from any one individual or from the whole, so if we want to move it along, we have to do it at a meeting like this. Or you'll have to tell me if we have to meet as a subcommittee.
I guess then it's a question of accepting the safety committee's recommendations or reviewing it further or adding comments from around the table tonight, right? So you have made changes and recommendations.
No, we
Oh, you have not?
We hadn't had another safety meeting, no.
Well, then rightfully it should go back to the committee and they should have a meeting and recommendations made to be presented to council.
I believe that is, where's that 5 right there? It is recommended to the council, Swan Valley West, this is the recommendation.
No, but when they reviewed it last meeting, there were some issues or some concerns from some members of council. Were there not?
Yeah, and probably everybody agrees to this one, if you go to the gear policy, just go to that one, for example. It probably should read, the Municipality of Swan Valley West gives permission to the supervisor / lead hand try to purchase for safety equipment as per union contract. It shouldn't say each of these things, 'cause some of these things we provide, some of these things we only provide every second year.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, some of the stuff we pay for, like boots and stuff like that, we don't.
Well, boots, we do gifts like every second year.
Well, I'm
to the- yeah.
I'm saying this wrong.
But not the full.
We pay up to $200 for 2 years towards boots.
So there's just some things in there that,
It needs to be
It's
removed.
Minor changes that have to be.
it's minor.
Yeah, we started that conversation last time, we never got into it in detail to make notes on it. So, I mean, is your recommendation that we write this in and take it back to them?
Well, if it's a minor change and if that's the only one, then it can be
Did anyone else
changed
know, like the other stuff?
right now.
Well, if we go wording such as in the union contract, there's nobody can argue with that, and then
That's
it
what I
takes out
think.
the variation of somebody else making a decision about what's included and what's not
No, it
included.
has to be according to the
Yeah.
contract.
Because that's what we negotiated already.
I think that's the only thing I could find wrong with it.
Well, and the other thing is we know we have to do the inspections, so the last one was to make sure that the inspections were getting done. That's the final page.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, right?
Yeah, they're all,
However,
Look at our recommendation on that.
James, I would think.
For the inspections, we recommended once a year.
I was thinking
And
about
then
that, and we can,
Oh, Manitoba government.
so, and that's the
They're
thing,
suggesting
whether
four.
it's tabled like that
Or
or not, we can make.
they want
we
more
can
main
make
inspections.
changes, and we
Yeah.
can redo it right here.
quarterly inspections of shops
Well, you
and
wanna just
Yes,
cross it out?
yes. Just better than me
but I
writing
believe
it.
Yeah.
that's by, also by
It'll look just as
members of the
messy,
committee do
if
the
not
other,
worse.
like what you and, well, you went with them, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, so from what we said, we recommended 1 and it's changed to 4, so that might have to change.
So,
Did you get that, Carrie?
What?
That it's 4?
I saw that,
Yeah.
just,
mhm.
yeah.
Good, yeah, because I was just looking for that here too. I didn't,
we've never done.
Okay, we are going to use the same resolution, but I would like it moved and seconded again because the seconder is actually not here this evening. The seconder, just do to the right.
I didn't see that, Carrie, where that was,
Where?
that safety audit thing.
The back, this one?
Yeah, yeah. mhm.
It's on the back of,
Oh, I see, okay. So we have to change that on that gear just to say that it is. According to-
because
That is
It's-
not going to be included on the resolution itself, that's going to be in the
Yep,
policy itself.
right. And
So
just
nothing else has to be changed
Well,
in the
yeah,
body of it?
I was just gonna say that we could say, see, it's recommended from the safety committee and the policies, and then say, for instance, the safety gear policy with edits, you know, so they know that it was edited and not by me afterwards. So, you know, that's where it gets tricky, because if I have this resolution and I take it back, they said, well, there's
That's
no.
why it should be done when it's moved and seconded and debated.
Yeah, so let's just table this, just put it on ice, and we can approve it next time if you
And
want.
let's have a new resolution. We now have a pretty
Yeah,
messy.
yeah, it is a messy one, and if you don't want to do the edits so that,
No,
we can.
the
clean it
edit
up.
leaves the door open, even though I trust you 150%.
I didn't think we had a schedule.
Could be misconstrued.
Maybe we can check.
I want a copy of
Maybe
that
we
tape.
do, maybe we can write it down.
I'll put it in writing.
You'll put it in writing, okay. So this next one, I didn't have anybody sign it because we were going to talk about the Benito landfill, and then we'll
Then we'll sign.
second, okay.
Because of all the courses, I think. Yep.
Yikes, eh? All right, Benito lease.
We can,
So you have that, I think, sent by electronically, as well as there's a couple of copies on the table, the long form and the short form. Basically, the short form is the design, the long form is the, basically the tender package. Take 2 minutes and read that over. Jeez. We got it the other day, and I just quickly breezed through it, and it's very similar to the preliminary drawing. This is just the final drawing along with all the, of course, the tenders information.
They don't have dimensions.
They got the slopes.
Just that fine print. Blind reading.
So the cell all has to be sloped.
And capped.
Yeah, when it's good. This is not the construction yet, it's preliminary.
This has draft on it, and that's what they want approved, and once the draft is, or once we approve it, then the draft will be taken off and it'll be ready for distribution. And so like I say, it was, the preliminary, it's very close to what it was there when we looked at it earlier.
So do you have the dimensions in here? Can you see the dimensions?
I can't see the dimensions, no. I have to,
Maybe,
magnifying glass, yeah. I actually have one that. Yeah, you were concerned about the size of that to make sure that, compared to what we currently have.
You need engineering every time, it better be adequate.
Yeah, we want bigger than that.
if you want the more, what you have on your laptop there, it's right in front of you.
Yeah. There's about an hour or two.
Can you expand that up at all?
No, I can't see how to enlarge it. Different than my Apple.
I was just gonna say scroll, but you can't even scroll.
You can scroll, but that don't make it bigger.
Yeah, you can't click on it and scroll though. I don't think it's got
I didn't.
the dimensions on it.
I don't think it
couldn't
does.
see with my glasses. The actual cell itself is a third of the size of the earthwork. The rest of it's all sloping. Make you burn up some ground pretty quick.
You have to have it in the specs to be able to tender it, so.
So these should be these numbers here should give you the width. If you have all these up here,
Yeah.
across here, and you put it up here, should be 48, if that's meters, or if that's, it's gotta be, is it meters? So it's 48 meters wide. 3, 6, 9 is 15. 75. Meters long.
Is that outside to outside?
Yeah. 90 meters.
So from the
If you
outside,
add all these up there, running here,
where are you seeing that?
right here, all these here, right from the edge here, going here, then you get to 60 meters here,
Oh, so that's 60, he says, right? Just check that number.
60 meters to bottom is,
Yeah.
60 meters to bottom, and that's another 30 some meters at the,
Man, Glenn, you do good without glasses to read that. Yikes.
And it's 20 meters on the bottom, 20 wide by 60.
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, it's 20 wide and the bottom is 60.
And there's another 20 meters on each side of it with sloping.
48, it says right here. It's 36, 15, 35, 24. It's about 50 meters wide.
You're not thinking that's a lot, eh?
Well, it's 100. Where does it say the depth here? It's a 3-to-1 slope on.
depth only looks like 3 meters.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 3 meters, we got it marked here.
So it'd be about 10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How deep is that one we have there right now? You know?
Yeah, it's no more than that.
It's gotta be somewhere. in
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
parking.
would say it's there, that. Yeah.
That was-
This looks actually bigger than or what we got, I think.
I think it
it's-
is.
It
It's
is
quite a
bigger
bit
than what we
bigger.
yeah.
have, but,
It'd
if
be
it's
nice.
gonna cost us,
So much for
Engineering
engineering. It would be
every
nicer to
time.
have it bigger, yeah. Oh, I know.
Might as well do it once and not worry about it for a while, eh?
It'd be nice if we had it for 3 or 4 years, 5. I know what you mean.
and that 10-foot depth would be from the top of the top of the berm itself,
berm,
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know how close to the top of grade you could come with
Yeah,
putting material before you would have to bury it, or how deep the top cover would have to be. You would think.
Yeah, they
well,
are.
the biggest thing,
Anyway, no?
the biggest thing
It
is
has to
maintenance.
be, it has to be tramped, covered with clay and then
Yeah,
finished off, eh?
But you would actually be using or utilizing not just this small area,
No,
but
like up to the
all
9
way up
meters
to the-
each way
you know,
too.
to within a couple feet of the top of the berm,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Which would give you a little bit more, but.
And then you can pile the stuff on top and bury it with appropriate material, every night type of thing, and then just,
well, our biggest thing
When you
is,
start moving around on top of that stuff too, it really pushes it down.
yeah. That's the biggest thing, probably once a year you'd want to go over it with the, push it down.
Next thing we're gonna need is a little cat.
Yeah,
easier than fixing tires.
You see the thickness of the material they want
Or
with the tractor
taking
now?
out the bags
I
out,
don't know where to see that.
Like,
you know, when they get in.
oh,
in that one drawing there, it's
we had in the track over there.
Yeah.
like
I know,
8 inches of thickness
bad for them
and
when
12
they
inches of
do that.
seams.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it too.
What's that, Tyler?
What's the ground like back in there? Is it spongy?
No, it's pretty good clay in back in there, yeah. Yeah,
They're just talking about the thickness of the material used in the turnaround.
On the turnaround there?
oh. Years ago, I dug pits back in there.
Yeah, they only put me half or so there basically.
Foot and a half cover.
Oh, that A basin,
Yeah.
30 centimeters of C base and 20 centimeters of A base. Geotextile under it all. That's why I asked if it's.
Oh, for the
spongy.
roadway.
Yeah,
Oh,
turn around.
like it's good material, it's good clay there. Clay and that gets into blue clay after. Like, but
so what are your thoughts? The size seem appropriate, or should we get them to,
well, if we could go longer, it would be, well, longer is better than wider, eh? Because we can pack it.
Well, longer is better than wider. Wider just makes it that much harder to keep it
Yeah.
pushed up.
Yeah. Be nice if it was another, like Bill says, even 100 feet wider, longer, it would be.
Yeah.
well, I think what probably is, might be reasonable would be to have it, have the entryway down the center of the property, So you could utilize the same approach, do the next cell to the west then, rather than going north along one side. You'd be able to use the same approach and landing pad,
Yeah.
while having it to the west instead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's the width of the entire property, east-west.
Well, it looks like about double of what we got for a drawing here.
Well, maybe they went to the center of the property then.
Yeah.
Because that way would save you from building a new pad until after both cells were filled, right? The one on the east and the one on the west.
Yeah,
And then you would jump ahead far enough to be able to do two more again.
Do it again to the north. Yeah,
I'm just wondering why they wouldn't have, why they set it back there off.
Well, they've used the existing access and they've attached it to the new area. Do you see what I mean? If you look at the colored. If you
Yeah,
look,
it kinda looks like.
if you look at the
they-
colored, you know, where you drive in, that's the access where it was
Yeah.
before. And they've just attached it onto the new area because the new area would have no. Because that's where the trees were.
see, it looks like we could have 4 of these cells in that area, or maybe
Or
5.
six.
6, yeah, yeah.
yeah, we probably could squeeze 6 in there.
So they gotta be somehow utilized so that they
Yeah.
last 30 years or whatever,
No,
or more.
Just comparing this drawing to our existing pit, it is quite a bit bigger, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
But so much ground is lost with the sloping, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
2/3 of that lot, or that parcel.
Well, every 10 feet down, you're going out 30 feet, you know, like you're, when you go down 3-to-1 there,
Yeah.
so you're going out.
How many years is that other pit in there, Glen?
Yeah, I should ask Bill that, but it's been quite a while. Forget who dug it last, if it's Gary or if we dug it.
Which, the one that's currently being used?
Yeah.
That's only 2 years.
Yeah, we dug it.
That's
Is that
for
only 2 years?
2
Oh,
years.
I'm sure it's more than that, because it was like pretty well full 2 years ago when I was working here.
it's full now, it is.
No, this is, what are you talking about, the
Oh.
whole area?
No, there's one to the east now, isn't there?
That's right.
That one is 2 years old.
Yes, that's the
I'm
one.
talking about
You
the
were
old one that
here.
was all fenced off.
Oh, that's,
Different.
That's buried now. I haven't been in there for a while. See?
I assume that it's covered.
You're sitting like this.
Yeah, because it was here.
They gave the alert then, the guys, that this was the last area that was available, right? Where they dug it 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It looks like,
that one's not near as big as the previous one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. The one before was quite a bit bigger. Like, that's why I say when you look at this picture, you can see the one that I'm remembering.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite a bit smaller than what we got going on up here.
I would say it's it's 3 times bigger than, maybe 4, you know, like, it is sort of divided in half then, there, yeah, we get,
Yeah, it's right down the center where they're making the road, which is,
you see the line isn't right where that bush runs out to that open field, it's right down, straight from that driveway there. That's the line there, of the property line, coming in from the highway. Right where it makes that curve is the edge of that field runs out on the line there.
but whether you could use the current northern side of the proposed cell as the southern side of the third cell, if we go west for the second one,
Yeah,
and then go back to the east side again. In other words, if not, you're losing so much property in between, right?
Yeah.
oh, you are, definitely
time.
you are.
So it looks like it's centered,
It does.
and you could utilize the landing pad for the one, for another cell similar to the one on the east side, on the west side of the property. And then number 3 would again be north of the first one, the one that's drawn now.
Yeah, you might get 6 in there.
You mean on each side?
No, 3 on each side there.
Oh, you gotta get more than 3. If you can use, or start utilizing the sloping, the
Yeah,
north side of the current one, or the proposed one, as the south sloping of the next one, in other words, to get your, you know, to get
Oh, yeah.
it butted up, right?
Like
Otherwise, you're
I see what you're
wasting
saying,
a
you're
lot
kind
of.
of overlapping them as we go. This slope turns into that slope next
Exactly.
time around, yeah.
well, we lose 60 feet because
Yeah.
of 30 feet each time.
Exactly. So, no, I see what you mean, anything that's left, that's not
Yeah,
covered in household garbage,
no,
it can be re-landscaped and turned into the side of the next cell.
yeah,
It would be really beneficial if we could get 4 on each side as a minimum. And then you say we can put a layer on top.
See that
As long as
line,
it's
you
covered.
can't come past it.
What's the black line all about, Bill?
That's 100 meters from the provincial highway.
Oh. Do we have to stay that distance?
It must be 100 meters away.
Which black, you're right
I
here?
put it in there, it's sort of right, it's that way the road.
That's the 100-meter
That's
mark you
100
figured.
meters.
whereabouts is that?
Yeah,
Well, that has to be
he's got it
taken
drawn
into
right about
consideration.
here.
They're right about the end of the driveway.
Like,
The
you've
curb.
Oh.
got it drawn right here, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, just a little piece away from the driveway.
So I was kind of drawing mine, well, mine went over that a bit. So,
I'm just thinking if you flip that cell this way, it wouldn't fit within.
The distance available.
oh, the next way, but it
Yeah,
could go
the-
this
we
way.
are now,
It
yeah.
could, it could,
Might be able to
it could go
turn
this way and then this way, maybe.
Yeah.
That would make 3 on each side, right?
Where's the line?
Well, see, so I'm just going just guesstimation too, like this, that's where the road is, that's where the line is, but we were thinking you could get another 2, 3 in there. But I think you'd have to go turn it, like you said, flip it, go this way 1 and then this way.
Is this the clearing that would be good indication of where you can go?
Not a lot of that clearing is within 100 meters. Basically.
The property,
You can see it, can't you?
the other page shows actually the area, does it not? The first photo? The back side of it,
Yeah, this photo, this would show that
with
area.
the gray
correct?
area?
The grade square. But that's
So
not-
that would make your line go on the
It
edge.
doesn't run parallel with the highway.
No, so that's not measured from the highway.
So it's kind of on an angle, it's gotta be.
Yeah.
Well, they've kind of got it drawn as a parallelogram.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, well, we kind of know what we want to do here.
Yeah,
So I think we should tell them what we want to do. This is how we want to make it work. We got to be 100 yards from the highway.
Well, they would be aware.
Like, they'll be aware of all that though, but then at least we can get the plan in motion, you know?
yeah,
Oh, medicine, I just need it.
Do you need a mint?
No, I'm good.
I always got that. Worked once before.
Okay, so it looks like that's about as large as we can go because you are expressing concerns of going any wider, right? Longer is the only consideration, and we can't go longer if we're already in the middle of the property.
Mhm.
yeah, it looks
I
like,
think that is a good size though. And if it is possible to do like you say and start staggering as we're filling, that's gonna really gain a lot of room too, you know?
Acres?
What does it say we have for acres there? What number of acres on that piece total?
Didn't read that yet.
Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Kushniryk, whereas the Bonito landfill needs to be expanded in accordance with and to stay compliant with the requirements of conservation and climate, and whereas an engineered plan is being prepared to meet those requirements, whereas the draft design was approved on July 28, 2020, and the design draft copy of the design specifications and plans for the Bonito landfill project received. Therefore, be it resolved that the attached tender document for the Bonito Waste Disposal Ground Expansion, dated September 2020th, from J.R. Cousins Consultants Limited, shall be accepted as presented and signed off by the Reeve on behalf of the municipality. Be it further resolved that requests for proposals and advertisements for such be started at the municipality's earliest convenience once final drawings are available. Further comments or questions?
So, this, I guess I have a concern I want to express on the record. Certainly, I agree we need to expand the Bonito waste facility. And it's proved a very costly process. My worry is, in the past, we have found out after that perhaps we proceed down a pathway that isn't the pathway that most traveled. And by that I mean, certainly we can get an engineering study as we've done. We're now going to tender with a 20-some page tender document for a landfill cell. And that is certainly one way to do this. My concern is that tonight we're talking about the last time we had a cell that facility was 2 years ago. We dug in the pit, essentially. All regulations that are in effect right now came into effect in 2016. So somehow, 2 years ago, we found a way to legally build a cell without all of this. And that has me a little concerned. Because when I read the regulations, both waste management facilities regulation and the standards for landfills in Manitoba, the vast majority of this process seems to be unneeded. There isn't even a requirement to retain an engineer. So I just want to state my worry that, we're well into this, and it's been on the advice council has received. But we're probably too far to stop. It just seems that when you read through all of those things, this probably could be done another way. And I wonder if we took any time to research other paths well traveled by other municipalities to make sure this was actually all needed.
I could partially answer your question anyway. From my knowledge, the last cell or hole was dug on what they termed the active area. They then determined that the active area was completely full, and that was, again, environment out of Dauphin that put that down on us, and that we had to expand. And it was assumed, because the property was all bought at the same time, way back when the first cell was dug, or hole was dug, that the whole property was ready and able to receive.
Technically active area.
Exactly. And they said no. Since the regulations changed in 2016, we would have to go through the whole process again because it was a new addition or an expansion as such. And I obviously was not involved, as no other member of council was, in the day-to-day communications. But from what we heard coming out of administration was that all of these steps had to be taken. And it was quite getting to the point of being quite critical because the pit that was dug 2 years ago, or approximately 2 years ago, was only going to facilitate the use for a couple of years, possibly 3, if things went real well. So that's why the process was begun, and it was begun a number of months ago, I believe under Cheryl's tutelage. So,
I actually don't disagree with a single thing you said. I think that's all completely accurate. Just my concern is that sometimes as a council, we act only upon the advice we're given, which is where we're at. If we were to build a new landfill facility today, this isn't required.
and it's considered a new landfill because it is an expansion.
What I'm saying is if we built a new one that
Yeah.
was not connected to the old one in any way,
Yeah,
this is not required under the regulations.
well,
And so that's my concern, is when I read this, is, it says if you wish to retain an engineer, you can, or you can just submit this drawing, and they require 5 days notice of the drawing, and they can go ahead with it. It just, my worry continues that this is certainly a way to do it, and this is the way we were advised to do it. I wonder if it's the only way to do it, or if there's a different way that's much, much different.
are you familiar at all with what he's talking about? If, I just want to make one comment, and then you can speak. If on one hand, there is a way to do it as you're suggesting with relatively no cost, and this way there is horrendous cost, would that word not be out there, or are they hiding that information on them? When I say they, I'm talking now the Department of Environment or whomever, that we are jumping through these hoops to appease. Like, it seems strange to me that it's either or, a no-cost way of doing it, or relatively no cost, and the other way, a horrendous cost. Generally, regulations don't give you that much leeway, but if you can produce the area of regulation that suggests that we're doing it the expensive way and there is a relatively inexpensive way, then please produce that.
I guess this is why I keep asking if we asked around, if we talked to other municipalities, if we did. Certainly if you ask an engineer, I know what an engineer is always going to say, you should have an engineer.
Yeah.
Because that's their job. I just more was questioning if we did any, when I read it, I could be, certainly we all have different opinions on what regulations say. But when you pull up the regulations and look at it, they're really straightforward for a class 2 landfill. For class 1, not so much. For class 1, certainly this would be required. But we aren't a class 1, we're a class 2. The class 2 regulations are pretty, for lack of a better word, lax compared to the class 1 regs. That's my concern. We have certainly around this table made the decision we had to make based on the information presented to this table. None of us are experts in this, but I just have that nagging feeling that sometimes we don't always find the simplest way out.
The only other communication from other municipalities outside of Swan River, which is a class 1 actually, I believe, is Bozeman. And we were advised by the Reeve in communication that there was going to be some huge costs there, and they were considering whether they were going to close it down completely or turn it into a transfer station or whatever. Same thing happened to us in Durban. It was deemed that we were out of ground, even though we had dug holes, test holes, and found virgin ground there. If we wanted to dig a pit there, we needed an engineer's report. Now that came right from Environment Manitoba.
we need an engineer's report for the test holes. I agree.
And to dig a hole. If they found virgin ground, then we had to go through the whole process.
I agree, we have to go through the whole process, but as specified in the regulations.
Well, Mr. Yonkers is the guy that we were in communication with, and that's his interpretation of it. Now, he may be interpreting it wrong, but,
the cost?
you know, that's his job.
27.
So I don't know, I guess this can be tabled for a couple of weeks as well,
I
and...
don't think I'm suggesting that necessarily, I just wanted to make sure that we,
No, well, if there's
No, but
any
if there's
doubt,
a
if
way-
there's any doubt, we should not be worried about
Spill it out.
postponing it for a couple of weeks if we can save hundreds of thousands of dollars.
and we've not already spent money, I think we've kind of,
This is the beginning stages, the expensive part is to come. We have technology in front of us, all we have to do is pull those documents up that we've found online and present it to the council. We can take a break while we find that information, and then we can make a decision tonight. That is probably the best way to do it, you know, provide us with the information. I know that this report here puts us on the safe side, because there's just gonna be just as many comments after if we did go ahead and say, heck with that, we're just gonna dig a hole, there was gonna be just as many comments about us not following or going to the extent we should to follow environmental rules. And so at this point, we have a document that says, hey, this is a good way to do it. Now, if we want to dig 6 more pits, and those regulations you find us, hey, we got a blueprint.
Where to go.
well, that, you know, I'm not suggesting at all this is the
Yeah.
wrong way, I'm just saying it might be.
Yeah.
better than one.
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm sure this is
And-
one of the right
And I think that
ways.
this puts us in good standing with
But
the
if you have a way to say-
people of environment. But I'm very interested to see that document, because, so pull it up and that will help us for sure.
Let's take a 10-minute recess while you do some research on it or get the documents available so that we can get them in the hands of council. Okay?
Sounds good.
52 pages? One 52 pages, and then it's 47.
So, qualified professional landfills have the potential to create long-term negative impacts on the environment. Therefore, Manitoba requires that the design and construction of landfills must be overseen by a qualified professional who understands and can identify potential factors that may harm the environment and can provide methods to reduce and actually potentially harm, and incorporate these methods into the design.
What is a qualified professional?
Not me.
It means an individual properly trained and authorized to practice in a specific area or field which may include assessment, design, and provided consultation to include but not be limited to professional engineers, geoscientists, or landscape architects. So it can be an engineer, it doesn't have to be.
So how do you feel that it would lessen the cost then to,
Well, I guess
Almost
what I'm going
negligible.
to say, it provides less of what we have to provide. And certainly this meets the requirements perfectly fine. We had to build test holes, which we built. Those test holes had to have the material from them
analyze?
analyzed, which we did. So we have those results, which we're required to submit. And we're then required to submit the chemistry from them, the chemistry of the groundwater, which we have. I'm sure they did that same testing while they were there. And then there's a requirement that we provide a map, which is, you know, a map that shows the roads and such, so this is essentially it. And then a design plan, which essentially is this one. So this is going to be our active area, so anything inside of here will be considered active from then on. We have to say if it's required, you have to remember we're in clay here. We're not in an area where there's a lot of leaching possible. So many of these say if applicable, and some of them say dependent. Submission design plans for waste of construction level of detail and construction supervision is dependent upon site conditions. So for example, in clay area, as long as digging in clay, you can really do no wrong, right? If you dig a hole and it's clay everywhere, you're kind of finished. If you do what we're proposing here, where we're actually going to go higher than the ground, then yes, you're required to have some ditch around it. But if you stayed at ground level, you wouldn't actually have to have a ditch, because it would just fall into the hole.
So below ground level, and you would
Like
cap
we've
it,
always done, right?
cap it at
Yeah.
ground level, which is what we've done.
Always run that site, right? And that's always been acceptable there, so I'm sure, you know, the ground didn't change. It's still clay, just like it was before. And so a bunch of these things, you don't know what to do if you're just doing clay. You don't have to line it with impermeable material because it's already clay.
It's already lined.
You don't have to compact it because your clay has already been there for 25 years, so it is compacted. As long as you don't dig a hole and say, oh, we dug too deep and fill it back in. You know, if you stay just a virgin hole,
For those
there's a lot of it that's,
test hole results.
you know. I think that certainly they do the boreholes, there's no question about that. They can require us to put test wells in, but I don't see anything in here for test wells, so I'm thinking that wasn't a requirement for this site.
Not with clay.
No, because what's the point, right?
Oh, yeah,
But
it's got
the
to-
point remains, though, it says that Manitoba requires that the design and construction of landfills must be overseen by qualified professionals. So now we have utilized an engineer. Who else would be a professional that would be negligible in cost? Because that's basically what the inference was when you brought up the point.
I would suggest Mr. Bob.
Mr. Bobick would be a qualified person.
He has an extensive history of construction in this area.
I would imagine that there would be some liability associated with whoever would sign off on these things. Do you think that that he would consent to signing off on that sort of liability?
If he is, I would suggest he was signing as a municipality, so it would be our liability issue. Because he'd be acting as our staff at the time. No, we have indemnity for staff. You know, if they're acting in good faith. Because it says it can include an engineer.
Yeah, no, I understand, like, that's what we have done, right? We've used
My
it.
fear comes like, we have this and this is all good. There's nothing wrong with it, this is exactly what we have to submit. We can give this to them now and say, this is good. And then we can give them 5 days notice, we're gonna dig the first pit. And they can come and watch us dig the pit. But that 20-page document of the tender, holy crap, I worry about what that's going to cost.
Yeah.
Because if you start having 20 pages of rules for a contractor to follow, as compared to go there and say, okay, so we're gonna mark out this pit. We're gonna have Mr. Yonker stand here because he has to be here. We're gonna have Mr. Bowick stand here because he's a qualified professional. And we're gonna have a backhoe operator dig this hole. There's a far cry difference in cost from that to what we're going to have. Like I would expect when we put this tender out, it's going to come in at some mega bucks. That's not necessarily bad for it, but it's take so they'll continue researching in the meantime. I just have this suspicion that with past history with Mr. Yonkers, he's not in the mood to do us any favors. And he may not have said, oh, well, this is enough. He may have said, here's all you can do.
And again, we have to trust administration, whoever is in that role, to advise council wisely and accordingly, right? There is never a cost involved with someone tendering to us.
I would see what, like, if we find, like, to me, going ahead with the tender tonight is a sensible thing. We've paid the money to J.R. Customs, the work is done. We can go ahead with the tender process, see where that comes in at. And in tandem to that, maybe James can find 5 minutes someday to ask a different municipality further away, hey, you know, especially one with clay soil. And just see if there's an alternate option to having to select one of those tenders that's gonna come in at some huge price, if it's possible to do it another way.
Now, as far as us actually physically digging the cell and shaping the cell, I I am under the impression that we in fact would be doing that with our equipment. We have equipment that's capable of doing that. But again, it would be under the supervision of someone with experience, with knowledge.
That's not currently talking about that. What they've proposed here, the long document that's just in the email, it's essentially a tender that's ready to be released.
Well, we need a tender for clearing the land, but I guess this has nothing to do with clearing the land.
Well, this is a full field.
Two different things.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, this
As
is,
well.
because like we're putting geotextile into that driveway, and maybe we need that there, but maybe we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would suggest we don't, but
No,
A
I
lot
would,
of smart people, I look to Mr. Foster, who's built a lot of things in his lifetime, that if he says we don't need geotextile in there, I would tend to believe him.
no, I don't.
Yeah,
And there hasn't ever been
There's
before.
never been there.
You see, like that's why I asked the question that, and
It's
like
just-
you with the gravel, it just seemed a little excessive.
Yeah, it is excessive, that's.
Like if we were
Very engineered.
in
Yeah.
Regina and we were driving heavy equipment over it constantly to pack it down, that
Or
may
heavy-
require that.
heavy collection.
Heavy
trucks.
collection trucks, that may require that, and that may be how they look at their,
At any rate, let us
agree.
move ahead with this resolution unless there is objection to it. Do you want me to reread the resolution?
Yeah, because I forgot what we're talking about.
Okay, the resolution was moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Kushniryk. Whereas the Benito landfill needs to be expanded in accordance with and to stay compliant with the requirements of conservation and climate. And whereas an engineered plan has been prepared to meet these requirements, whereas the draft design was approved on July 28th, 2020, and the design draft copy of the design specifications and plans for the Benito landfill project received. Therefore be it resolved that the attached tender documents for the Benito Waste Disposal Grounds expansion, dated September 2020, from J.R. Cousins Consultant Limited, shall be accepted as presented and signed off by the Reeve on behalf of the municipality. Be it further resolved that requests for proposals and advertisements for such be started at the municipality's earliest convenience once final drawings are available. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. So in the meantime, James, perhaps you could do some research for us, all of your spare time.
Can I delegate?
You may. You may.
Well, thank you for entrusting me with all that work.
You want your ice cream cone now?
yeah. 10-minute
Oh,
break.
so you're bidding on that job? You're bidding on that delegation, yes.
Are they still making ice cream over there?
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Okay, we'll move on to finance. Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Kushniryk. Resolved, the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. General checks number 16359 to 16392 in the amount of $69,993.26 for a grand total of $69,993.26. Any questions on those?
Let somebody else go first.
Glen's ready. I had a greater question.
Yeah. I'm just looking where it was now.
Because there was two the same.
What check number?
16380 was us.
What is that? 16?
16380 is on page 4.
4, yeah.
I'm just curious, James, if that represents the typical month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's.
But would it, because they had a day there where they just dropped off, would that be included? So that would maybe come down a bit?
They dropped off in July. So we did pay a July fee of one pickup on July 31st. Now this is for pickup in Benito,
The top line.
and then there's Durban and Benito landfill as well as a shop. Now, the only increase that could be is I'm trying to get them to do it on a weekly basis in Swan.
So that would be,
So that would reduce the attraction there, instead of getting more bins and doing it every second week, you know? And so that might go up a little bit, but the volume shouldn't, it's just the pickup, so.
We still have people who are abusing the service in more ways than one. They're putting in very, very dirty material, garbage, rather than having it rinsed out or washed out and usable as a recyclable. The other thing is when bins are not even full, because of those lids being quite difficult to lift for some people, they're throwing the stuff on the ground. Glass then gets broken, and the driver, when he comes and picks up the bin, dumps it, smacks it right down on top of the bags that are thrown beside the bin. I've asked James to talk to OSS and tell them if there is material on the ground that they should set the bins off to the side so they aren't setting them back on top of the bags or boxes that are there. I've cleaned up a number of times at no cost, and James has gone there. Imagine there was cost involved there, but
No, there wasn't.
there wasn't? Okay, well, that's admirable.
I forgot,
of you.
but thanks for the reminder.
Again, the town, we're having issues with their bins located south of their shop, and they are moving them behind the scale. So people will have to go over the scale to dump their recyclables, and when they find that out, I might suspect, and you might suspect, that we're going to get a lot more volume at our place as a result of that.
Would it be?
Is it hard to pull up that bill?
No.
This one here, 16 through Brad Tractor.
yeah, where could we, where was your idea?
That way. You know, I don't know if there's a good spot of it, but someplace that makes it not so easy to get to if you're someone from town that's just not wanting to go to your own landfill. That still, you know, captures our folks.
Yeah, well, that's
Because our
too-
folks don't live in the middle of town, they live.
Our bins
What
are
about
too
Tyler's
close to
place?
town, but. Yeah, and then they could be
The
monitored.
golf course might be a candidate in the summertime,
Yeah.
but in the wintertime, you know, they don't want people coming on the property either, and they may not even want it in the summertime.
There, I don't think our own, there's municipal property, there are no parks or anything, so
No.
I think the one house open is probably the favorite, putting the driveway out.
Which one is it, Glen? How much?
The
On
Brad
the-
Tractor, three, or do you want the number? 16
On the
363.
golf course road
What's
there?
it?
I,
16,360.
yeah.
363. 16 363.
I figured this, you know, these little spots.
Oh, yeah,
Another one there, John Deere
Okay, let's-
Financial.
break a deal. Oh, geez.
I'm just
Good
checking
idea.
one
Yeah,
there.
no, we have some conversation going on, so I wanted the banter.
Yeah, you talking about?
Yeah, that's what he said, Brian.
Brad Tractor, yeah, just. Well, oh, okay, well, I was looking at all these here. but
Oh,
yeah.
I see, okay, yeah.
What's that, Glen?
No, that branch one there, like all the fluids in that there.
Yeah, there is quite a bit there.
And then I go over to the other page here and I see John Deere Financial.
So there's a bit in holders. There's quite a bit of hydraulics oil. Like Don said, he ordered
Yeah, I
2
know.
pails for each of the graders. And so that's in here.
Plus we needed to refill it.
Yeah. And so you said, John,
Two,
here was your next
They're
question?
going to
John Deere Financial?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's 16,367. Cause there's oil there too, pile of-
That's LED,
yeah, like, I'll see the
LED oil.
Yeah,
Hydraulics, that's our,
I think there's a $1,200 one there for,
Yeah, there is a $1,200 one there.
What is that, barrel or what?
There's 5 pails, 6 pails.
$100 a pail?
Yeah, 200, 500 times 200, and 1 times 102, so that's that cheaper oil.
That must be fully synthetic. that.
Fully synthetic XR.
XR
So
oil.
what do they run that in?
That'll be the
The hydraulics?
Yeah.
Synthetic oil in the hydraulics?
in the, well, I don't know if it'll be the same in the transmissions or not, but I think he called it, the XR, he calls that for the hydraulics.
Yeah, the XR is hydraulic.
Hydraulic
and then
oil.
What goes in the transmission is a trans hydraulic of some
Oh,
sort.
okay.
It's a different type of oil.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed a lot of dollars there, oil, everything.
You know, they were ordering it, and
What
so,
was that?
so they found that John Deere was
It's
the
light.
best place to get it, so. But there was a lot of oil purchased this month. I hope it's available.
That's why it goes on the shop floor so fast.
But that's, this one, Glen, is
Okay,
this one
any
that,
further questions on the checklist?
It just seemed to, yeah,
one that you're questioning the LED one?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
which
it,
one did you say you used that in the tractor?
like that tractor wouldn't hold that kind of
No,
oil.
that wouldn't hold that. I mean, the John Deere,
Oh, it is.
there was 1 pail of high guard that's probably used for the LED. But is there something charged to the,
Well, it says $1,200 oil grease part.
is that to the LED?
Yeah,
See, there's a 341,
That would have been a miscoded item. But that's, on here, it shows that it's 114, so that's, I'll double check
Here's
that.
what she's talking
Are we still on warranty for this? John Deere?
about. Parts also.
Okay,
I
I
know
will
some
change that,
hours
because
are
that definitely
7,500 is the
is,
magic number.
rural.
I know they're also
That'll be
linked, but I'm not
for the
sure
greater
what brings.
XR, because they don't have anything that takes XR. Unless Bill decided to go with that in the tractors, but I don't think.
I
he
can't
would.
see
Probably
that.
Not 5
I
pails.
can't see they would spend that much, you know.
No, no, that's more than their budget for the whole
Yeah,
year.
you wouldn't need 5 pails to fill that thing right up.
like that just seems too much oil for the
I
LED.
think
Yeah, it is,
that was
yeah,
a mistake.
for the LED.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
You get it 40 or 41.
it just caught my eye there.
The same day I picked up parts, I saw Don picking up pails of oil.
And he signed for it, Don signed for it, so.
And so I'm pretty sure that he wasn't picking it up for the LED.
No. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, if there's no further questions, all in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Kushniryk, second by Councillor Gade, resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West is hereby approve the following payments. Payroll payments check number 3306. There's an error here too in these numbering. 3306 to 333322.
Oh, yeah, take the first 3 out of that.
This one.
Yeah, somebody stuttered.
Okay, payroll payments, check number 3306 to 3322 in the amount of $27,777.17. A grand total of $22,777.17. Any questions there? Not all in favor? Okay, discussion, 9.1, Livingston Fire Coverage.
Or St. Philip's.
That St. Philip's is an example for you.
Okay,
And we give that out last time, same as the safety, to see if anybody has any input on that. Just as a template, or does anybody have any other input that we should be adding to the Livingston one? This next time we can put one together and bring it back. you know, for approval. But I just wanted to throw that out there as an example.
We didn't have the one either.
No,
It's probably about 4 years ago
since we had that one, yeah.
I still believe that there should be a retainer.
There is, there
There is?
should be, yeah, so much. So that's good, we'll make sure that there is, because that, if you are committed to that area, you build your resources accordingly, and that costs money, so
Yeah,
they benefit from it, like insurance, if they don't use it. They should have some money in the game.
well, and we're only a mile away to some of their customers, you know, like, so it's a pretty close proximity, you know.
And some of their people come and join our fire.
Oh, we have lots, yeah, yeah.
So
good,
that's a
good.
bonus too. so
Yeah,
it's
it is
good.
very bonus.
So what sort of dollar value are we thinking, so James knows what to put in there?
Yeah. I forget what the,
Retainer fee or?
Well, yeah, how we're gonna word that, seems to going right up the south now, it has to get in there. But what do we want to put down?
well, it wasn't a big amount before what they had to pay, and they weren't excited to pay that.
What's the amount before, do you remember?
I think it was around,
Where's Schedule
was
F?
it
That's in there.
4,000 or something? Was it
Where's Schedule F?
Something
Did you
like
say
that.
at the very back? Thank you.
3,500 to 4,000?
Because that's where it's outlined.
750 for the first hour.
So in 1.2 on the back page there, it shows 10%, and I'm calling that 10% of the operating. They call it the net annual deficit, but really it's, you know, we could change that to, is 10% enough to charge them of our costs? So our costs are 45,000, 10% is quite a bit.
Not as much as 45,000.
That's right, yeah. So I think St. Philip pays us 2,500, you know, roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, so, you know, we could.
That's roughly what they paid.
And Livingston is larger area.
Yeah, yeah, the western or the eastern part of that, we look after, so.
Yeah, I think we go to Aaron Grid, don't we, with St. Philip's? Straight south of Aaron, I think. That's what St. Philip's there.
So what do you want it to be? 5 grand?
Okay, well,
4 grand?
What was the amount they got so upset about last time, was that 3,500?
I think it was something like that. It wasn't a big amount.
but I mean, you look at.
I would like, I'm not sure on that bill, but I
Because
think
it was percentage of that, and the percentage that year added up to that. And there was usually, like you say, the percentage was lower, but they needed equipment. That year, the percentage was higher.
See,
They're kind of the two lines of road. I like the idea of the retainer, because it's good to have some money coming in. But I don't believe we're going to incur any additional costs to service the area. You know, we're not gonna go buy a new fire truck because we added them, we're gonna buy a fire truck for a different reason. You know, there's nothing we're gonna go buy tomorrow if suddenly we start servicing Livingston. If we go there, we charge them for the per call fees. I don't think they have much of an argument about that. I would like us to keep it affordable enough to them that they join for the benefit of those people mile from Toledo, because it's hard for us to explain when you're a mile from Toledo, we don't come.
yeah, oh, it is. No, I know it is.
It's rough. And I think 750 for the first hour, 500 for each additional hour covers our costs. We go there. We've never proven that. It's just, again, that gut feel that we talk about, right, where we don't really know what our cost is, but we think it covers it. I don't want to scare them away. If we got $1,000 a year, it was $1,000 more than we have now.
St. Philip's pays 2,500 though. You gotta treat people fairly.
Yeah,
And that's what life is all about.
What, were we charging them for, 3,500?
No, just the one time the first, like, so we go with this percentage basis, so the 10%. So the 1 year the costs were higher, so the percentage it was up, say $1,000. I'm not going
Yeah.
by the exact number. So that's at the time, but now they're asking to come back. It's not,
Did they do that, or did they walk away without paying?
pretty sure they walked away without pay, but I'm not gonna say for sure because I'm not the one doing the book.
So you see the village of Erin was in too there. you
Yeah,
see.
and I think that's
That was a separate
where in
thing,
line,
too.
where the problem was, so.
It was more with the village.
Yeah, it was more, yeah, it was the village that came to us as a delegation.
Is it, maybe we should sit down with them before we commit something to paper?
They're willing to come and meet with us.
Yeah, that would be much better.
They're coming to meet with us.
20 minutes rather than us guessing and sending them something.
Yeah, I think-
We can say what we think is fair. What we don't talk about.
But yeah, I just wanted us to have a chance to, get out not our concerns, but our requirements, our basis. And I imagine 10% a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, was 25,000. Our costs go up 45,000 now. So, is it 5% instead of 10%?
Yeah.
That type of thing. The percentage is whatever, but.
You're being protected the same as our residents.
Yep.
They should
Yeah.
all be treated equally, in my mind.
And, the costs are definitely gonna go up again when we buy new equipment. So you don't wanna be too low and then have to really spike it to cover our costs.
Well, that would be part of the discussion with them.
Yeah.
It's very transparent.
I think we should have them in. It would be a good, it's always good to meet with neighboring municipalities on something.
Oh, yeah.
Can we invite them in for the
Oh,
next?
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure we can, yeah. They might even bring a copy of their previous document.
yeah, well, that'd be good there, because I know I was on it, me and Dave were on it there, and I'm just trying to remember, it's a long time ago.
So, okay, well.
I can't say for
we'll line
sure.
that up. Invite them. So I think October would be good for those folks. Maybe the second week or second meeting in October would be better for them, but we'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that covers.
Okay, Kenwood Rink Organization.
So last time we talked about the Kenville rink and, Darryl, I think, was gonna get a cost of that liner, or did he pass that on to somebody else? No. I was supposed to find out what the tax situation of the property is, and there's no taxes on that. There was, it's institutional, so
Yeah,
they don't
we
pay
hold
taxes.
them.
Yeah.
We hold the title to it.
Yeah.
Their suggestion that we send, or communicate
Yeah.
to them through same address that we send the tax bill to just doesn't work.
So, I think we have to bring these people in. Not necessarily to a regular meeting, but we need to meet with them. Because we need to make sure they're clear that there isn't a tax bill. And that we're doing some wonderful things for them. And see how we can further work together to make sure they're happy. Because obviously they're not 100% happy at the moment.
Well, I think they were put off like anybody else would have if they got notion of that, and I think that came out the wrong way. It's something that that was discussed and should have been, caveat on it as far as what was just a second, we're just answering a request,
Well, what we specifically discussed with it was we would all go and ask around if anyone could find out what was happening with it. And so we accomplished that goal.
Yeah, immediately,
So, I think if we find out what the
before I
liner,
got home, I think.
if we find out what the liner was gonna cost, and if that's the biggest hurdle, I'm sure we'll get back into step with them pretty quick.
I just want them to understand we're paying for the insurance, we're not charging them taxes. This is a pretty good deal already, and let's let's get that facility open.
I would like to see it
Let's
open.
go skating.
Sure, it'd be a cool little place to go, yeah. But, I don't know if we necessarily have to bring them in, we just have to, do some more research on our own, and maybe next time we'll leave this on the agenda for next time.
But,
Phone call to the chairperson.
Yeah, I'll make a phone
Might
call.
give you a cost of the liner too if they've actually investigated it.
Well, they're
I just
fundraising,
wanted
so.
to ask a question about that liner there. Does anybody know the dimensions of that rink, roughly?
I don't know.
Roughly 2 sheets of ice wide, curling sheets.
And a little stage.
25 foot probably to 30 foot, 25
Kinda
to
like-
30 foot.
I'm just thought, we got technology here now, right?
Wonderful stuff.
So Amazon, 40 by 68, ice and go, 60 series liner, $427 free shipping.
Wow, that's it?
It's a,
It
what's
would
a
be
sheet
longer
for
than
them?
50
It's 130
feet.
feet.
Yeah, it would be. That's just,
Yeah.
I just,
I,
Yeah, but that's,
I'm just saying.
But double that.
yeah,
Even if you let
Yeah,
Thompson,
it's that?
it's a sister line of people.
yeah.
It's not that much money, it can't be that much money to
No.
get a rink operational. And that's, like, when I talked to her last, it was the same question, I was like, tell us the number, because the number happens to be $1,200.
Yeah.
Because the number's 20,000, we have a long look at it. But if it's $1,200, all it stands in the way of having that operational, then let's talk about it.
Which company did you say?
So the people that do sister liners, Thompson,
Thompson, oh yeah.
they're the ones. Because they've got really thick liner plastic for sisters that last forever.
Yeah.
That's gotta be basically what they put in there.
Mhm.
And they custom make them for whatever size you measure
Sure.
off, you get rolled, comes in a box. But
Two sheets of ice, and we need about 30 feet wide by 150 feet long.
150 long. So that times 3, but
Times 3. No. Okay, a single sheet of ice is, say, 15 feet wide by 150 long.
okay.
So I'm saying 2 sheets of ice is 30 wide and 150 long.
The liner that he priced was 60 feet.
Oh, I see.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't want to get into the decimal point.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, Canadian Mental Health Association, letter here. Requesting myself or a member of council to be available to bring greetings on behalf of the municipality, and I've been in contact with them. I was advised of this, because the meeting is on Thursday. And she mailed me the Zoom address today.
Good.
You and I have Rise that night.
This meeting is prior to Rise, so.
Sorry.
do you need that? I don't know if you do, right?
Probably not, but. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Blosha, resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the attendance of the following persons at the CMHA Swan Valley Branch Board and staff on September 24th, 2020 via Zoom video conferencing at 6:30. It's actually their AGM. So, so I have taken out branch board and staff and inserted AGM, the annual general meeting on September 24th, 2020 via Zoom video conferencing. Questions or comments? Not all in favor? It's carried. Okay. 9.4 G4 meeting. It's basically being cancelled. Okay.
Is there, they're supposed to host in June at the swaps this town. It just seems like if we don't get around to it, G4, we're still not going to have G4. You know, those meetings we continually discuss the fact that we need to increase the meetings and make the participation better and get to the meetings being more valuable. And when we start, the June one was iffy, there was some good stuff, the CT canopy one, you know, we're all working on that. I fear if we start missing G4 meetings instead of, you know, they don't have a facility, but there's other places the facility can be found, to still try to meet. So we don't lose the, whatever momentum we have in G4, and try to build on it rather than.
Seems to me the town took the ball from Mountain the last time, right?
Mhm.
And had it, and now it was Mountain's turn again in there.
No, isn't it Tony's Bozeman Street?
Missed, I think.
Oh, Minnetonka's Bozeman was missed, and this is not.
Mountain, they
Yeah.
switched,
Yeah.
that's basically what happened.
Right.
Well, perhaps we can, speak with Minnetonka's and either ourselves or they can, have one in advance of when it would normally be out. And utilize the town Zoom to have it, either that or go off-site to a larger facility.
We could even go to a facility in Birch River just to make them feel at home. There's quite a wide.
You know, they were somehow uncomfortable suggesting that. Seemed.
My feelings, if there's any way to salvage something, we should try to salvage it, rather than just give up. We'll need more, not less.
So, should I talk to Minnetonka's?
See what their feelings are. And if they are copacetic, then maybe ask the town if we can utilize their facility. Their Zoom.
Did you want to talk to the Reeve there? Maybe that'd be as good as anything.
Minnetonka's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Good. Okay.
Okay, 9.5 GPS. At our Transportation Committee meeting of September 10th, there was a resolution passed, it's moved by Councillor Will, seconded by Councillor Pierrepont. Resolved that the attached recommendation shall be brought forward to the council for consideration as prepared by the members of the Transportation Committee regarding GPS tracking for all mobile equipment owned by the Municipality of Swan Valley West. And it was carried unanimously. We've talked about this for a number of months, actually almost probably 2 years total. And it just seems to get put off. Were you able to secure any pricing at all or not?
I did that one quote and I did find another company, another company. Haven't contacted them yet, but I got a list of RMs that are using some of the GPSs so that we have some stats to go with, you know, which
Okay.
is good. And yeah, I'm definitely not on the front burner, that's for sure, but you know, it's something that we can continue to work on. I don't look like I'm dragging my feet, but yeah.
Only some of those, just so you know, only some of those systems, or some of those systems will work with your program that you have for the mapping.
Yes.
GIS.
CGIS.
Some of them will, just so you know, but some of them will not, so.
Okay.
If you wanted to mark things like on the map, then they have to work together. And that's what one system that was going to be brought in,
Wouldn't do it.
well, it didn't do any of the
What,
things.
do you remember that system, Karen?
Yeah, text to car,
Okay.
just so you know.
That's the
The one that we
one.
were looking at.
But it could have changed, and
Yeah.
that was,
And,
When I was
and
first on.
it's good to have that because if
Like
we're,
an email somewhere.
if we're saying that this is to track when the roads have been done,
I'm just saying
we can
that,
create layers on CGIS.
I'm just
And
saying that
then we can
research
pop
has-
that up pretty
yeah.
quick. When somebody calls in and says, my road hasn't been done for 2 weeks, it's just bingo, it's right there. If you don't have that quick access to data to be able to respond to a concern, then it doesn't do you much good, you know?
So that one presentation we had, the tracking was able to mark either problem areas on the road, culverts that say more.
I know, but you have to do your research
I
because text to car was here, we had it, it did not do that.
Wow.
So it has to be researched to make, like, someone come and show me that it actually does what.
Yeah.
Was it called text to car, the ones that we're talking?
Well, then but I'm just
I remember the
saying,
one you're talking about, I was here at the time, and all it did was pinged itself once in a while, but really didn't do anything other than that, you know? The one you're talking about,
They made the presentation.
they made the presentation. It does a lot of different things. I just don't know if it works on that CGIS or if it works on its own program.
it's worth looking into.
Okay, so we await with bated breath additional quotes.
I'd prefer to phrase it with patience, but, yeah.
Okay, 9.6, special services fee, local improvements. All received a copy of sample bylaw.
That's the long sheet that you got just at the end. This one right here, yeah.
Where did the document get sourced from, James?
Say what?
Where did you source the document from?
This year, I had Ken start on this as a template. It's not a finished document, obviously, but it gives you an idea what we're working towards. And basically a template for the other service or any service fees that we do consider for 2021.
So this isn't like, for example, the Thomas one over that has the existing one that we could just change the numbers on.
No, that's right. I didn't pull those. Ken had some in his back pocket that he was gonna use and he was working on. You can expand upon the,
Number of services, et cetera.
yeah.
Okay, so that work continues.
Yeah,
This is an appetizer, if you will. If at your leisure you find something amiss or some better way to word it, I would suggest that you should be contacting the office and letting James know.
Are you gonna talk about other services that we might include in this type of fees at this time or not? No.
I think we're all familiar with the types of services because at the LED meeting, we talked about that kind of extensively.
So just while we're on this, Ken is working on this here, as well as updating bylaws that we had brought to his attention when he was here in February and March, that he figures needed some updating. So he's working on those, and then November 1st, we gotta have our council's code of conduct in place. I sent you a sample of that this evening, so you'll have that on your emails, but that's something that'll be coming in October to a tablet or computer near you.
Oh, like the, yeah.
Yeah, something that we can adopt as a bylaw that's required. And then along with these type of public hearings and service agreements, we'll shore them up as well to bring to the table.
Okay, 9.7, ratepayer request.
This is the request for service.
Oh, for the sewer
Yeah.
and water service.
You know,
So when it was first talked about, it was thought that it was outside of the boundary of the LUD, but in fact it is inside the boundary of the LUD, so the utility is obligated to hook him up by extending the utility lines as required at street
first,
up to the edge
yeah,
of
from the edge,
the
yeah.
property line. And from then on, it is the landowner or homeowner's responsibility to cover the cost of the actual material and labor to hook it up to his property. And obviously, we would want to see every taxpayer inside the LUD able to enjoy the conveniences of the utility. So it is more for information. Correspondence, 10.1, rail safety week. All have copies of it.
Yep.
For
Electronic.
information only.
Okay.
They always ask for a resolution every year and we always send one.
Pardon?
They always ask for our support every year
Oh.
in a resolution and we always send one.
Yeah, it says up there.
It's when,
This should not probably be done on this letterhead. Probably be done.
It gives us a sample. I didn't know that you
We always
did
do
that,
it.
but we
We
can
always
put
do
that
it.
together and bring it back for, as a resolution next time if that's preferred. We've done that before.
yeah, it's this
Okay.
week.
Not time sensitive.
No,
It's this
that's right.
week.
This week,
Yeah, 21st to the
Yeah, yeah.
27th.
Okay.
So it is time sensitive. So.
I didn't really see that letter. It was just showed up on the agenda thing.
10.2 is the minutes of the Swan Lake Watershed District meeting, board meeting. Again, for your perusal. And finally, from the Association for Community Living, a thank you to the council and the municipality for the annual grant that we would get.
I'll get these started down the table for our in-camera session. While we take notes on,
Okay, we will go into committee
Pass that
reports,
to
communications. Let's start with Councillor Blosha.
I
Councillor Pierrepont isn't here.
Transportation meeting, and that's all I have to report. Next week I have Health Foundation meeting. So far, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kushniryk.
Yeah, just a Rise meeting that I can remember.
Transportation. Or,
Or, what did I say?
right.
You said-
Oh, transportation.
Okay,
That's what I meant.
thank you. Councillor Foster.
Transportation I had.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wills.
Transportation as well as an HR meeting. Other than that, I don't think anything else.
Okay, Councillor Gade. You attend anything?
The opportunity to, not many committees. It's been 10 months now since I've been on a committee. I did attend the LUD meeting. A week ago, we spent some time there having a rather productive discussion about budgeting for next year for the LUD. And certainly, the LUD has some thoughts and comments and thoughts. But much of what was discussed looked at ways to perhaps align the LUD service plan a little more with some other service plans we've seen from other municipalities. Both in terms of cost, but also the way the work is done. So rather than the LUD as it currently sits, hire staff members that are essentially LUD staff members and work only in the LUD, a more blended approach where maybe we'd have all staff work for Swan Valley West and not necessarily see those lines as greatly. So that, whoever was the best at providing the service in the LUD showed up that day and provided the service, and if they weren't available, a different staff member did. There's been some great discussion there between council and the LUD on that. I'm hoping that continues. We're certainly committed to them this spring that we would have those discussions, and sooner rather than later, so it's good we're having them now before we get caught up in budgeting. And certainly budgeting is coming on that same time frame for everything we're discussing with the LUD to work. We probably have to get our mind around budgeting a lot sooner than we have in the past. The last couple of years, we've budgeted fairly late into that new fiscal year, whereas many of those LUD proposals, some of them will have to be in the special services levy that's going forward already. James is working on that. But some of them will have to, we'll give them some idea by January, February, what the costs are going to be to accomplish what they want so they can make those decisions. So we should be aware that we need to speed it up a bit this time, which should be easy for us to do. We've got some experience now. We've done a couple budgets as this council. This will be our third go-around of it, so it won't be as much learning curve as it was before for all of us to get there. But that's probably the biggest takeaway from that LUD meeting is that we need to not wait too long, because the sooner we look at the types of changes they're proposing, the better it'll be. The only other takeaway I got from that meeting was, discussion continued a little bit about the rec center video. And I think it was agreed by most people there that that would be one of the hardest things for us to come to agreement on. Everybody has some rather different opinions on it, and they really span the gamut from totally left to totally right. And that's something we all need to be thinking about as we watch some LED processes. Where do we each feel the appropriateness of that is, and how to do it, and how to make it so that each of us goes home at the end of the night thinking we've done the best we can do. And that's probably going to take some thought time on everybody's part, especially when we look at Kennville. We're going to see some comparisons drawn there as we go through this process between the Kennville rink and the Nido rink, and those shouldn't be uncomfortable questions to answer, but certainly will be questions we have to answer. So it was overall a great meeting. It was good to be back involved in some of that planning stuff, and I did have quite a lot of communications from various ratepayers over the last couple of weeks. The volume of that has gone up markedly over the normal level of communication. I was able to pass some of that on to James, that were like ratepayer actual concerns, but much of that, I don't want to use the word noise, because it's certainly not noise, of those concerns are getting extremely loud about a variety of things. So we'll have to watch that, because obviously the council, we need to be responsive to all of our ratepayers, even more so the ones that have some very strong concerns, and their concerns are getting stronger, to make sure we're listening to them and trying to provide them some sort of path of reasonable resolution. I did spend a little time looking into the, James mentioned earlier, the new proposed code of conduct. That takes effect November 1st, so there'll be new rules that as council we have to follow. It's probably, a year ago we kind of looked at the draft ones. They've changed somewhat since then. Might be good if you can find 5 or 10 minutes to look through them, just with an eye to costing. Because some of those new regulations are going to translate into costs for municipalities. When you start looking at having independent people looking over concerns and such. Certainly, it's not lost upon me that as we sit in committee reports, we have 2 meetings left to come to some sort of resolution on what exactly my punishment term is. Because as of November 1st, I will take counsel under those new rules. We will put a hearing for it if we can't come to a resolution. So I urge us to come up with an agreement before that, so we don't end up going down that path and spending money that doesn't need to be spent. That's my report.
Thank you. I attended the LUD meeting as well as the trans meeting earlier today. We also had an interview session and HR meeting. I also traveled to Winnipeg for a sit-down with Minister Schuler and his aides with respect to the provincial road number 275. What we were able to get a commitment from the province was with respect to them committing to doing a study on the drain that is currently being utilized to drain water from the south side of 275, the south ditch. And they will in fact fund the cost of that study, and if it is feasible, they are committing to beginning work as soon as possible on reconstruction of the road. So that's really great
Boy,
news.
that is.
And we hope then that that the engineers will come to the conclusion that the drain that is currently in place with slight improvements to it and proper elevations at the bottom of the drain will adequately take care of the water on the south side of the road. We also had a request or a concern raised by a taxpayer who travels that road daily that the lines were disappearing on it, and one of the assistants took my business card or municipal business card, contacted me after she had contacted the contractor who does the painting, and advised that the painting was going to be done this week.
Oh, perfect.
You can let me know, Matt, when it's completed, so that we can tick that off as well. And that is my report. We don't have you down here, James, but do you have something that you want to bring up?
Transportation and interview, and that's the extent of meetings.
Okay. It's that time. If anyone is still on the phone line, if there's a question or a comment, we would entertain it at this time.
Still on the line, but no questions tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will then take a short recess, and upon our return, we'll go in camera. One more resolution to clean up before we go in camera. It's moved by Councillor Kushniryk, seconded by Councillor Wills. Resolved that we do hereby accept the following verbal reports regarding council committees and communications. Councillor Kushniryk, Transportation Meeting. Councillor Blosha, transportation meeting, LUD meeting, interviews. Councillor Wills, transportation, HR. Councillor Gade, LUD meeting, budgeting. Councillor Foster, transportation meeting. Myself, LUD meeting, transportation, HR interviews, meeting with,
Meeting Reeve.
meeting
Provincial
Reeve, yes, but it was with the Minister of Infrastructure, Re 275, drainage and construction, and ACAO, FO, James Webb, transportation meeting and interview. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Wills, resolved that pursuant to section 152 sub 3 of the Municipal Act, the council as a whole shall go into camera and close the meeting to continue discussions regarding
Bylaw enforcement officer and letter from Ken Jenkins.
Nothing about interviews or nothing, no.
We didn't have that on there unless you want to talk about,
No.
you can ask them to have that on there. Anything else that we need to have there? That's all I had.
Okay, regarding bylaw enforcement officer and letter from Ken Jenkins. All in favor? It's carried. Nothing further? Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Kushniryk, resolved that this meeting shall now adjourn at 10:50 PM. Be it further resolved, that the next meeting of council will be on October 13th at 7 PM. In favor?